everyone, my name is Jesse and welcome back to another Bakugan video. Today we're going to be looking at the submissions I asked you to do, which was to submit your partner Bakugan, and boy did you guys deliver. Now I want to be completely transparent. I literally just recorded this video. It was 42 minutes long, and when I went to go check the footage, my face cam did not record at all. Like completely. There was nothing, just my desktop, and I thought that at first I was like, I'll just use that footage, but then I was like, I don't feel like I do this video justice without you seeing my facial expressions. So we're gonna go through it all over again. Now, I apologize if anything sounds rushed. In the previous recording, like I was genuinely like in awe at some of y'all's stories. And everything, so I don't want to diminish that in any way, so I would rather spend another 40 minutes re-recording than I would giving you something subpar. So we're going to go through these. I am going to show my partner Bakugan at the end of this, so you'll have to wait. But let's just go ahead and jump into it. I've been talking too long and there's too many to get through, so let's do it. So first up we have Baku Twins, who says, my partner is Pyrus Longfly. It says, back in the summer of 2010, I saw video showcasing a 1150G Bakugan I'd never seen before, which is Pyrus Longfly. From that moment, I was obsessed to get one. After a couple months, I finally got a Pyrus Longfly on the 23rd of December, 2010. This is very specific information. The fact you remember this in 2010, this is 16 years, is pretty incredible. So it says, from that day onwards, Longfly became my favorite Bakugan, and I used him in most of my brawls since. Very cool. So there he is, and it says, side note, I also managed to complete my Bakugan Longfly collections. You got all the attributes. Very nice photo. Ash here says, so back when I started to return to Bakugan in 2022, I started to grow more into Dragon Bakugans that aren't just Drago. One of them's Helios. So slowly I started to like how he becomes Darkus and Mectanium Surge. One day I went to a flea market and finally got a Ventus Helios. Although Darkus is my favorite attribute, one day I'll be able to complete him in all of those. Very nice. Yeah. This is pretty impressive, just that you were able to get like a Bakugan from a flea market. Because I feel like when I've looked, there's never anything. So it's always pretty interesting to see someone get one like in the wild. Dice says, my partner is Elico. He was the very first Bakugan I ever got. And while there are definitely others in my collection by now that I like a little more, he's always going to be special to me because of it. I never played the physical game because I didn't really know anyone else who liked Bakugan when I was a kid, and I couldn't really use him in a game anyways because if I wanted to, because his G-Power is too faded. So we can't see the G-Power on there, but it's kind of interesting, I guess. Like, you can't see like none of the G-Power. I guess it'd be on the wheel at the bottom. I don't know if all of them are like that or if it's just mine, but the attribute changer wheel does not have an Aquas emblem. Very interesting as well. My favorite attributes are Pyrus and Darkus, so the fact that Elico can be either depending on what this wheel lands on is a nice bonus. That is a nice little bonus. Little Power Ranger looking dude. Roxas Pup 56 $, at being specific here, says, my partner Bakugan is Darkus Aeronaut. He was the first Bakugan I got in my collection when I began collecting over a year ago. Darkus has always been my attribute of choice due to the unique color scheme, each with these secondary colors. Yeah. Darkus is such an interesting one to look at because, you know, first season was purple, second season was purple, and then Gundalian really switches it up with that yellow and green accent. But like Aeronaut here this is the first time I'm noticing it, second time, that it's yellow. Like there isn't really any green in it, which is super interesting. I wonder what the design choice for that was, but it is really neat nonetheless. Kronk, Hyper Dragonoid Collector, says, everything started after the loss of my first Bakugan partner, my beloved Subterra Warriors. He was stolen by someone I consider a friend. Wow. I was devastated because that Warriors had been with me under all circumstances for the past few years, from about 2007 to 2011. I was even considering dropping out of the hobby at that time. Little did I know I'd meet my current Bakugan partner in a discount bin. His packaging was damaged from water. The moment I saw him, that Bakugan represented, when I saw it, all that Bakugan represented to me was brought back. This little fellow is still with me 14 years later, and I still adore him after all those years. We got a Subterra Skya and Gaia Dragonoid. That's very cool. 14 years is a long time. Titanium Humanoid says, my partner is quite unique, and I doubt someone else would mention him. It's Subterra Ecclesia. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I've never seen this Bakugan before, but he's really cool looking. He was my strongest Bakugan when I started playing many years ago, and I still keep him in my favorite decks, but I don't think I like him only because of the game. He is my best bro when I do all my boring university projects and works. Also, peak design. He has a really cool looking design. Check that out. So interesting how that works, and he can get battle gear. That's so cool. I wonder how many G's he actually is. I can't really tell. Ruler of the Despia says, Aqua Storm Skyrus was my first Bakugan. I thought I've lost her hundreds of times, only when going through a hard time to find her in a place where she shouldn't have been. She is one of 5 survivors of my original childhood collection, and as such will always be important to me. So far, she's survived 10 moves across the United States. 10 moves is a lot. I just moved, if you could not tell, and it has been a lot. Like, I still have boxes, and I'll probably still have boxes for a while. So 10 moves and not lose a single one is impressive. That is crazy, but also shows she's sentient because she disappears and only comes back when you need her. So nice to know Bakugan are always watching us. Sorry, I had to check. All right, Lindworm says, these are my partners, Dustmoth and Goji. So Dustmoth must be the Subterra Monorus, and Goji is the Dragonoid there. It says, Dustmoth was my first Bakugan I ever owned, picked up with a siblings at a local Toys R Us. Okay. She came with me to school a few times at the height of the Baku craze and was confiscated to the elementary school teacher's desk along with everyone else's Bakugan for messing with them during class. Sounds like me. Got in trouble when I nabbed her back on the way to recess and proceeded to brag to every kid that listened about the successful rescue mission. I like it. I picked up Goji a year or so ago after Shin Godzilla helped me get back into Bakugan. How does Shin Godzilla and Bakugan correlate? Like, I know they're both Japanese. That is so interesting. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Godzilla, and Shin Godzilla is probably my favorite Godzilla movie. How does that core? I guess he kind of looks like Godzilla, so I guess I can see it. It says he was originally just a stand-in for Leonidas, but now I loathe to replace him. He comes with me to work every day, along with a few other Baku buds. Yeah, I like the term Baku butts. He has beefed it down the stairs at least twice while shoulder surfing. It will happen again. Great story. I love that. Ventus Goth says, this is my partner Phaenoid and her evolutions. From left to right is Phaenoid, Silent Phaenoid, and Obsidian Phaenoid. She is dual attribute Darkest in Ventus, but uses Ventus most. She's Wyvern's sister and evolves into Silent Phaenoid when she absorbs a shard of the Silent Core. Oh. And then into Obsidian Phaenoid when blessed by the Sacred Orb. And then Phaenoid uses the battle gear of Valkyrie. So this is part of a fanfiction. So I guess if you want to read more into that, you can take a look at Ventus Goth's fanfiction. It says the art for Faye is done by my awesome friend Roar Raptor. So it looks to be this right there. That's a really cool card, by the way. That is very neat. Fan Dragonoid says, this is my guardian partner, Darkest Jigen Dragon. How I got him, a group effort with 6 of my friends. We all put a bunch of money into both a Darkest Jigen Dragon and a Pyrus Jigen Dragon, and then combined the parts I needed. So Darkest, because I love Darkest as a whole, didn't know for a long time that they even came in Darkest, but jumped when I saw one instantly. That is really neat design. He's in 2 decks, Gundalian Soldiers and Yoden Chauffeur and Sanzu Holoboss, as well as the new generation with Trifalco and Grand Panzer. In my lore, he is a Dark Bakugan who takes the role of Darkest 12 Orders member. Okay. I have him on my person 24/7, and there is no place I am not without him. Very cool. And so here's some pictures of the Bakugan. Huh. Look at these, looking like a little sandwich box. And then there you are with him. Very cool. Nice. These are so cool. Oh, I love these. This is why I had to remake the video. MacLeaod says, although I love Hydronoid, Dirac, and Raisinoid, and Nilius, my absolute favorite partner Bakugan would be my Subterra Avior. I got it at the mall when I was a kid as a replacement for a Bakugan that I accidentally destroyed. How do you just destroy a Bakugan? I mean, you know what? I can't say that because kids are crazy. And I was the happiest kid that day. I love how it stood out from the rest of the Bakugan on the shelves back then, so I picked it thinking out of all the Bakugans that I got, even the ones I got recently, that this one will remain as the most memorable one for me. I sometimes used to bring it to my school together with my Derek and play with it all the time at home when I had no assignments. Darkest Bakugan might be my favorite, but I placed Avior on the same level of favoritism given how precious it is to me. Setsuna Senpai says, growing up, I loved a lot of the bug and insect looking Bakugan. As such, my guardian Bakugan is none other than my B2 Darkest Centipoid. I remember watching the Alice vs. Klaus episode over and over when I was younger. I absolutely loved Alice and the team that she used in that episode. So if you remember that episode, Klaus basically made Alice brawl with a bunch of different Bakugan to, like, you know, see if she could actually brawl or not. And one of them was a Darkest Centipoid because she got like scared of it because it was Darkest. Continuing, so it says, I modeled my team on hers, albeit in Darkest, Centipoid, Beast Striker, and Mantris. I have included this team on the windowsill in my Alice artwork from one of your previous art videos. I remember this. It's a very good piece of art. There is no real story behind getting him. I always wanted one growing up, so when I got back into collecting, I found one for a steal. Frost submitted and says, my dear partner is Blitz, the Blitz Fox. He's cool and one of the Gans I deeply enjoyed during the pandemic. He is Octopus because he's chill. Okay, makes sense. I use him in my Generation 2 list. I take him everywhere with me as he is my bud. Last thing is, I'm spreading more Blitz Fox propaganda and everyone should get one. I don't know if I have one or not. I can't remember, but I will pet yours for you. So we'll get a little virtual pet for Blitz, the Blitz Fox, the Chill Fox. Very cool. Zion says, Master Ingram is my Bakugan partner because I've always connected with Shun and his quiet, disciplined personality. I watched Bakugan growing up, but I got back into it around mid-summer 2025. That is a rough time to get back in Bakugan. Rough time. And Master Ingram was the first Bakugan I bought when I came back. He represents focus, independence, and moving in silence, which fits how I live now. He goes with me mentally everywhere. I go school, work, everyday life, reminding me to stay disciplined and locked in. See, that's really cool. I like that, like, a lot of these have such strong sentimental value to people, or even like represent a way to live life. I think that is so unique. So I really appreciate you sharing, Zion. Inferno016 says, this is my partner Pyrus Dragonoid. I got him as a gift from my parents when I was little, and he's been by my side ever since. Had lots of adventures together with him, but one was when he and a couple others were stolen by some bullies. However, only he was rescued in one piece. He now resides on my desk, watching over me throughout the years to this day. I assume this was like childhood, because I don't know why a straight up adult would steal someone's Bakugan to bully, but I'm glad he made it back in one piece. But yeah, bullies suck, man. Kids in general just being mean like that sucks. He seems very well loved. You can see the dust on him in this image. So clearly he's been around for a while, which is nice to see. Nick Hammershit submitted and says, this was a tough decision to come to, but for me, I can't think of any Bakugan to better be my partner than my Blitz Dragonoid. While not my first Bakugan, he is the only one that I still have from when I was a kid. It was a Christmas gift from the end of the year that Gundalian Invaders came out. Okay. Held on to it for years until a friend of mine reached out with me to reignite my passion for the franchise that brought me so much joy. Without my partner, there's a chance I may not have reconnected with the franchise again and invested more money than I care to admit back into this hobby and gained a new appreciation for it as an adult. My hope is that there will be more Bakugan to come for future generations if it's announced. However, if it's announced that it's done tomorrow, I am grateful for the years that this guy and the franchise has given me. Very nice. Blitz. First one on the list, though. We got some Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the background. Nice. Crimson Saber says, so here's the lore of my Minx Elfin. So back around 2023 when Gen 3 was going, and I was getting a few Gen 2s for the collection, but never owned a single Japanese Bakugan from Legacy series at all, aside from the few that I already own. One on my list that I've always wanted was a Minx Elfin. She was one of my favorite characters from New Vestoria, and I liked her character and personality, but couldn't find one anywhere, either too expensive or in lots, which buying a lot from eBay wasn't, like, basically they're like buying one GAN from a lot on eBay without buying the entire lot made me upset. So they didn't want to buy the whole lot. They just wanted the one GAN. I thought I wouldn't get one ever. That was until last year, 2025, when I found a seller on eBay selling a Ventus Minx Elfin for a reasonable price, W seller. And after a week of waiting from buying from the seller, there she was, now with me on my collection with others that are on my shelf. Very nice. touching story. W seller for selling it for a reasonable price. Raw Raptor says, while many of you know who know me would assume I would say my Cross Dragonoid, Bronze Attack, Skyrus, Trox, or even Serpilius, based on how much I talk about them, that's simply not true. My one and only Dar. I didn't even notice this in the first clip, but he's got a ring on his neck. Can we get some W's in the chat for Dar? We need some love in the chat. Oh, that is hilarious. Comment I love Dar in the chat. In the comment section or whatever it is. I feel like a live streamer. Riley would love this. He was a gift from someone I used to hold dear to my heart, but is now no longer with us. He's been with me through many situations, and now even as his joints are weak, with chip paint and a broken horn. That's so funny. The like collar or like ring or whatever cracks me up. That is so funny. Orticus says, right now both Bakugan are fighting over the partner spot. In the first picture. So this is oldest Bakugan I own versus rebuy of my first ever Bakugan. It says Nemu is a reimagined to be Loch Ness monster from and named after the Lady of the Lake from Arthurian legends. And Mightier is pronounced Mightier. Mightier okay. So Mightier is actually pronounced Mightier. All right. Since my return to Bakugan is pretty recent, I don't have any good decks or brawl stories, so I can't provide any of that, unfortunately. Also, Nemu's scary, because she can combine with the B1 Aquas Laser Man, and that's the closest thing I have to Battle Gear. Let's take a look. Yes, you have the cannon on top. I love it. Laser Man makes great Battle Gear. I would say, in my own advice, now that I'm had more time to think about it, I would say that in order to pick your partner in this case, I would say one of the founding things for Bakugan for me is nostalgia. That's the whole reason I do this. So pick the one that makes you feel more nostalgic. I think that would probably be a great indicator. It's at least my indicator would be which one, when you sit there and look at it, which one's this one makes me feel like a kid again. And I think that might give you your answer. Maybe. Mateo VR says, my Bakugan partner will always be Cross Dragonoid. I know it's not unique or rare, but since I was a kid, I've always liked Drago and his evolutions, but Cross is by far my favorite. I wanted him in the first second I saw him in the show, and now that I have one, I'm very proud to have him in my collection. And there we go. We got him there. Ooh, he's custom painted as well, with a little Gundam guy right there. Very nice. We'll give him a pet too. Hi, Drago. All right, D-Money says, my partner Bakugan is definitely Pyrus Pearl Monarus. Monarus has always been a Bakugan I love, and I remember getting this Monarus specifically when I was a kid and loving her forever. Pyrus has always been my favorite attribute because my two favorite characters were Chan-Li and Spectra as a kid. She's always been there with me through all the good and hard times of my life. Nice. I mean, you guys have a lot of childhood collections. It's crazy. I don't really have anything like that. My dad, I'm pretty sure, threw all of them away. Or my grandma did, because I think my dad gave them to my grandma so that the younger kids in the family could play with them. I think she donated them to Goodwill. So someone out there might have my collection. Let's see. George PG says, now to be honest, even though it's not my first Bakugan, I think some of you might say it's Delta or Titanium. It's not them. It's just B1 Pyrus Dragonoid. To me, it's very special because my dad got it for me 2 years ago as a birthday gift, and I've wanted it since I was a kid, especially because Pyrus is red and red's my favorite color, and it brings me luck, and is also watching me on my display case with the others. But Drago's always going to be my partner. I didn't notice this before, but why are we holding a head here? Cobain says, I got into Bakugan in 2008 at the start of 3rd grade and always loved the look of the darkest Bakugan. I still remember the first time I saw the show, and it was an episode where Alice teaches Christopher how to beat Travis with Warriors. I remember that. When I saw Warriors, I immediately knew Darkest was my element, and I started using Warriors as my main whenever my friends and I played at school or wherever. I knew Percival was my true partner Bakugan the moment I started New Vestroya. I immediately began using Percival as my main partner, and a few years later I got his evolution Knight Percival along with some ability and gate cards for him, and the Trap Legionoid from Japan, and some regular ones from the States trying to build the best deck possible, shipped to me from eBay. And 16 years later, he's still my partner Bakugan whenever we all battle. Very nice. That's super cool. Yeah, Percival's a great design. He's always been a good design. I really like the color scheme used for him as well. because it just looked great. So I'm a big Percival fan. Anzuchi, is that how you pronounce that? A-N-Z-U-C-C-I, Anzuchi? Anzuchi says, this is going to sound insane, but my partner Bakugan is the humble core darkest Fangzor. I was already an adult when Bakugan first came out, and I really enjoyed the anime because it helped me unwind after some very stressful days at university. But I didn't buy any of the toys because I didn't have much money and I had to adult, trademarked specifically. Then a few years ago, when I was seeking the same comfort I used to receive from the anime, I caught up with Bakugan and fell in love with this long guy. I love how he lunges forward like a real snake as he opens, so I got the cheapest one I could find secondhand, my very first Bakugan. And it was wonky. It didn't completely close, and after watching Jesse's video about fixing Bakugan and comparing it with some healthy Fangzors I got later, I determined that at least one of the springs is a bit loose. He still doesn't close right, but I've managed to help him a little bit. You know what though? That's okay. Because it gives this specific one character. Gives him lore. We'll pet Fangzor here as well. Give him some virtual pets. Trouble says, my partner Bakugan is my Aqua's Tentacleer. It was a gift from my father a long time ago. I've taken great care of it ever since. It accompanies me everywhere. His name is Seraphis. Very nice. I don't think I've ever really looked that closely at a Aqua's Tentacleer before. But he's got blue eyes. It matches his attribute. Very cool. Rush808, and hi Rush, says, I don't have a very unique partner, but the story on how I found out about my Bakugan and eventually my partner is pretty funny. It says, back when I was about 3, nearly 4 years old. The fact you can remember this is crazy, or maybe it was told to you, I don't know. But 3 or 4, I could not even remember when I was 3 or 4. I was waiting in the area at the hospital as my mother was delivering my little brother. I was extremely bored. This is going somewhere. So my grandpa took me to get a toy, and eventually I decided on this cool looking marble toy, a Ventus Fear Ripper. I was mesmerized by it. And by the time my parents tried to show me my new baby brother, I did not care whatsoever. I needed to learn more about this toy line. Fast forward to me watching and getting a couple of the DVDs from the original season, Preyas quickly became my favorite. He was so different from the rest of the cast, always joking around and making me smile from his goofy antics. Fast forward again to the present, and he's still my partner Bakugan. And despite me seeing plenty of flaws in the show now, I still think Preyas is one that is consistently a good thing to think about when it comes to the show. I aim to one day own every single kind of Preyas made, but I'm happy with the collection I have now. So the first picture here is the full team, so I'm assuming for brawls and stuff. This is the full Preyas collection, so minus Preyas 2, but he mentions here, Rush mentions here he's got Preyas, but there we go. And then this is the Fear Ripper that started it all. And then Rush here mentions, side note, I've heard multiple other stories of people's first introduction to Bakugan being Fear Ripper. I think it's the honorary mascot of the franchise. And you know what? I have to agree. Very common. And I don't know if it's like a fan favorite or if it's just seen in a lot of the advertising or if like Spin Master themselves specifically liked it. But it is everywhere. And it makes me wonder, like, was it like the first one they made? I don't know. It's sort of like, you know how in Pokemon, Rhyhorn is like the documented first officially made Pokemon, I'm pretty sure. Is there an official, like, first documented made Bakugan? That would be interesting. If you know that, I need you to comment that. And I need sources. I don't want just like a random comment and like, believe me, bro. I want you to link the source because I'd be interested to read that. Everfree says, this is my partner Bakugan. It's a B1 Bakuflip Darkest Dual Hydronoid. I've had this Bakugan for many years, from when my mom helped me purchase it back in 2008. It's been part of my collection through thick and thin. It even survived being donated with my whole collection before I moved from California to Washington State. Oh wow. A B1 Darkest Reaper and a Darkest Alpha Hydronoid. So that's all that's left from the collection. That's crazy. Fun fact, my Bakugan is a misprint. It doesn't have an eye printed on the left head. I've nicknamed it Ol 3 Eyes. Oh, we needed to get a photo of the eyes. That'd be funny. That's cool. See, I like this because it's like the small, like, little details about these Bakugan are what make it so, like, the one not having the eye is fantastic. Tusky here submitted and says, my partner Bakugan is my Aurelus Fenica Ultra. It says, I first got her back in December of 2021, right as I was getting back into Bakugan. At that time, my friend and I were just creating a game mode called Bakugan Brawl, and it's spelled B-R-A-W-E-L, so like Brawl L. Yes, it is spelled like that. Since we didn't really have the Bakugan Pro TCG where we lived, it turns out she's pretty dang good at it though. With her ability to constantly pick up 2 Baku cores to her draw ability, allowing her to gain even more energy, she pairs really well with heavy-hitting Jyogen partner, Aurelus Skyhorse. Very cool. With her being absolutely adorable and coming in my favorite faction, there is no question why she's my partner Bakugan. Very nice. It's lovely to see some Generation 2 representation in this. You know what there isn't, though? Generation 3. There's none of that. Spoiler. Alright, the Overlord of Rubber Duckies says, my G2 partner is Tillian the Darkest Elemental Crystallian. Let's say that again. Tillian the Darkest Elemental Crystallian. That is awesome name. I got him back in 2024 from a friend who was clearly clearing stuff up, and this little guy's been my partner ever since. That is funny. Tillian the Darkest Elemental Crystallian. Head pats for Tillian. Oh, I got here. Goon Knight says, my partner is the Mighty B1 Dual Hydronoid that I have appropriately named Jeff. Hi, Jeff. I got him when I was around 6 or 7. You can't be doing this to me. Your name's Goon Knight. His name's Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
And then you pull a 6-7 on me. That is... He's been with me ever since. Has he ever won a battle? Of course not. But he's still my boy. So are you saying he's never won a battle because he's terrible for brawls? Or are you saying that because he's like an older Bakugan and you didn't know how to play as a kid? Because those are 2 different things. So either Jeff really sucks as a partner Bakugan, or he's just never had his time to shine. Alright, Sebastian here says, my partner is Darkest Raisinoid. I got interested in her around 2025 of April, so about a year ago. The headcanon here is that essentially, okay, it's sort of like how Ingram in the English dub transitions from female to male voice. Same thing here with Raisinoid. It'd be like a, I guess in this instance, it's male to female. Okay. Really like the uniqueness of the Bakugan, and it really started to get me attached to it, okay? Let's see. So, like, in their original character story, it ends with her and MacLeaod getting exiled into Earth. So it's like another fanfiction type thing going on. Where they're the only Gundalians left on Earth. I'm thinking about already talking to... Okay, I'm thinking about... the only thing I've left to say is that I really ship her with Alpha Hydronoid, and I love to daydream about them and their love. So... here's them holding hands. It says you can't ship them. They've never even met in canon. Then how come I was invited to their wedding? All right. Srldin595. SRLDIN_595. How do you pronounce that? This is my Bakugan partner, Ventus Syndios. He is very sentimental Bakugan to me because when I was young, I was looking for something to watch in Netflix, and I found Bakugan. I watched until the episode Bully Got You, where I found Syndios. When I looked at Syndios, I kind of saw myself as the guy who was lost in this world and didn't really know what to do with my life. So I just did what people wanted me to do, just like how Syndios didn't know anything about how Earth worked and just did what Margot told him to do. That day, my dad spent his lunch break taking me to the store and buying me a Ventus Syndios because green is my favorite color. I cherish my Syndios, even ranting about things to him like he was actually listening. I took Syndios with me everywhere. I still have him to this day. Sadly, he's not and never will be meta. Very cool Bakugan, though. I like his little thing going on here. All right, Data Lion says, my partner Bakugan is Chaos Falcrone. I began collecting Bakugan again around the time of the Armored Alliance / Jyogen Rising of Generation 2. Falcrone wasn't my first Chaos Bakugan, but he sure is the one that I used the most for battles with my friends. It has decent 800 G power and with the set of double helix cores wasn't half bad. One of the things that made me really like him is his design, simple yet effective engineering, similar to the early Generation 1 Bakugan, with moderate level of detail. Plus there's a lot of porthole accessories, you can add nano and stuff, very nice. That, and I have to say, for someone who, for the most part, likes the Generation 1 designs more, this time I prefer the Generation 2 take on a Birdman design over Falconeer or Ravenoid. Besides that, he's pretty neat, and I spend most of my time playing in and out of battles with him, usually imagining him with the personality of a snarking, talking parrot. So that's mine and this little bird story. Not too long, but not every story is a One Piece size epic. Please, I don't need a One Piece size epic. I can't handle that. SDS Dragunov says, partner is Pyrus Ultra Dragonoid, one of my oldest Bakugan purchased at the store when it came out. Even when I was on a collecting hiatus, he was always one of my go-tos when thinking about Bakugan. He currently chills in a box with his other attribute family members, but gets checked on here and there. Just embodies that simple joy of Bakugan to me. Very cool. Was not expecting yours to be a Ultra Dragonoid. That's not what I was expecting at all, but I like that you talk about how it just embodies the simple joy of Bakugan. That's really nice. Fortis says, well, I was between Helix and Jigen, and I think Helix is more fitting because it was the first Bakugan I got when I started collecting in 2022. I always wanted a Jet Core Helix, but I couldn't find any in toy stores at the time, and then I randomly remembered Bakugan exists and looked for this guy, and now I have about 40, so yeah, that's how it starts. You get one Bakugan, and then all of a sudden you want about 50 more, so... Raul says, this is my partner Bakugan Darkest Hades. Is one of the very first custom Bakugan I decided to get. I see that, very custom, because I really liked him during the show and he copied Hydronoid and his mecha. I always liked mechas and I grew up watching a couple mecha anime, and Hades looks very cool and I wanted an anime accurate version since the official one is toned down a lot. That is really sick. It's a great paint job on that. I really liked it. Yeah, Hades is cool. I have a very soft spot for Hades, but I feel like he was just going too fast, you know? He was gone too quick. We got Mock Spider too fast, so. MG6 says, my partner Bakugan is Flare Dragon. I got him when I was 5 years old. How do you people remember this stuff? He is very heavy and powerful. I always had him in my deck. He has been repaired and repainted many times, yeah? Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're keeping him in top shape. Of course, he's got to be if he's going to be brawling. But yeah, Flare Dragon's a very good one. He's a very good heavy Bakugan. Like, he almost always lands, which is nice. Very beginner friendly. Hex Collector says, theirs is Cyborg Helios. Says, my first Pyrus Bakugan and my first Bakugan able to combine with others. I got him during my childhood in a time where Dragonoids were really popular in my school. I thought he was Drago until someone else said he was the bad guy. At first I got a little sad. I didn't know there were other Red Dragonoid Bakugan since I only watched the first season by then. But then when I finally watched Nova Destroy It and the connection with different machines, I watched the Maxis battles over and over again on TV. I became a very big fan of Helios. We've been through many changes together. He even has the metal disc from Turbine Hades inside. Even trying impossible combinations ever since. Very cool. And you can see he's got the Nano and the Twin Destructor on there. That is quite the setup you've got. But very Helios coded to have different parts in him and using different parts. I like it. Lone says, so this is one of the very few Gans I have from my childhood. It was one of my very few favorites that survived and is the most cherished one that I will never part with. He isn't the rarest in my collection, but he is my favorite, and I'm one of the few people to say that Darkest Bronze Apollinaire had an official release in stores in the US from either Walmart or Toys R Us. Very nice. I like the little chair he's on. And the first bronze of the entire set, so of the video, so that's cool as well. Nice. And I'm assuming, I don't know this off the top of my head, but I'm assuming this is an EU exclusive, so the fact Lone here can sit there and say he did have an official release is pretty cool. So nice. Does he have a name? I'll pet him. Hopefully he's got a name. Maybe it's Rusty or something, I don't know. This one's from Aurora Bay, and they say that their background partners are Skyrus and Pyrus and Ventus Skyrus, so two of them, and the Baku Flip attribute B1 Skyrus. So they're their partners. Says, I love Skyrus so much. Was my favorite in the show growing up, and she's very iconic to me. And of course, I also have to add Storm Skyrus in where I can, so there's Storm Skyrus. As well, they're just so iconic, and they're even the first Bakugan I learned to draw from memory. I also had a little story with my OC who used the flock of Skyrus, so I don't know, maybe another fan fiction in there, I'm not sure. You guys are plugging these. I see you. Ventus Derac, where are we at? Ventus Derac says, Gundalian Invaders because it was the Bakugan my dad had always fidgeted with before he had passed away. Always, I still have the exact same Derac. Oh, so he always fidgeted with this one. Very cool. Huh. And then Chaos Infinity Helios from Actinium Surge was the last Bakugan my dad bought for me. I carried it around a ton and still have the exact one to this day. And then we've got Pearl Wyvern, who my grandfather had bought for me before he passed away as well. I got him as a gift for him for taking care of him when he was sick. Oh, that's really cool. And then finally, my Chaos Pegatrix, the first new series Bakugan I got from the Diamond Evolution, and the Diamond Evolution of her that I'm very proud to own. Oh, that's cool. And my Red Ventus Trifalco and Tavanel, which were my first Bakutech Bakugan, which I thought were so gorgeous. They mean a lot to me as well. That's really cool. So these have like a ton of sentimental value. That's really cool. That's a cool story. Really like that you guys have like so much sentiment in these. Like all these are very sentimental. It's super cool to read in here. And that's, like I said, that's why I had to redo this. I didn't think I could do it justice any other way. So now I guess I'll share mine with you guys. So let me go get him. Can you guess? Now is your chance to put in the comments what you think it is. So my Guardian Bakugan, I'm gonna set this up with a little premise first. So my Guardian Bakugan, I did actually spend some time thinking about it and like how I wanted to represent it. And for me, I had to look at the most memorable Bakugan because I don't really have any Bakugan from my childhood anymore. Like I remember keeping them and then I actively like remember getting rid of them. So I had to go from the collection I had since I started in 2021. And it really came down to like to me it was like what made me the happiest, like what was the highlight of my like collecting career, and like why do I keep doing this. And it came down to a couple things, but like part of it was like the hunt, right? So the hunt for the Bakugan, which I feel like really encapsulates Bakugan today. It's like all about the hunt, but also the deal, because some of them are expensive, right? So getting not only a good deal, but finding one you've been looking for forever, right, takes so long sometimes, and then the joy that comes with that. And so I haven't watched the video on this recently, but I'm hopefully the video really covers that and captures it very well. But here we go. My partner Bakugan, my not only my favorite Bakugan, but my partner Bakugan has got to be my Darkest Translucent Night Percival. All right, if you got it right, good job, pat on the back. If you didn't, it's okay. This is by far my most cherished Bakugan. This guy right here, to me, really encapsulates like the channel in a sense, specifically like the grind for some of this stuff, because these, like the videos I make, I do it for nostalgia, but like also like I do all this because I like the grind. And like this Percival specifically, big grind, right? And I got it for a great deal, and it's just kind of sat with me and been with me ever since. I'm gonna put him on my mic stand. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I like the design a ton. The design is great, but also just in general, like this is by far my most favorite Bakugan. Just the design, everything about it's really cool. And it really captures like the joy I felt. And maybe I'll link the video for this, but like the video really encapsulates like the grind, which is like why I do this. And like I do it for you guys, but I also do it because I really like the grind of collecting. Now, I've rambled on for too long, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, and of course subscribe for more awesome content. My name is Jesse. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.